Follow the trend, tend to benefit while avoiding harm. Hello, everyone. This is Mr. D. Today, I want to share with you the 5 elements. What is the 5 elements? First of all, you need to know their names. Their names are metal, wood, water, fire, earth. In the first video of this series, just to save time, I said that the 5 elements should be understood as the 5 energies, which is actually not accurate. So, what exactly are the 5 elements? The ancient Chinese saints give various explanations about what the 5 elements are. Here, I'm talking about an explanation that is widely accepted by modern people. The essence of the 5 elements is the 5 different movement modes of force. We all know that in our universe, any matter is composed of a certain number of particles, and these particles are not static. They are in motion all the time. The movement characteristics and trends of these particles as a whole are divided into 5 types, which are the 5 elements. In order to facilitate our understanding, the ancient Chinese saints, thousands of years ago, used the 5 elements to express these 5 movement characteristics. How well-intentioned they were. Next, let's look at the characteristics of the respective force movement represented by each of these 5 elements. First, let's take a look at wood. The characteristics of wood are growth and flexibility. Imagine this scene. In spring, a small tree thrives. A small bird lands on a branch and bends the branch. You have to feel the vitality, the growth, the flexibility of the wood, instead of looking at wood as pure wood. Therefore, once we see the wood in the 5 elements, we should think of the following keywords: growth, flexibility, vitality, wooden things. The characteristics of fire are burning, light, and rising. Imagine the situation when the fire is burning. This is easy to understand, so I won't explain it much. The characteristics of the earth are planting, nurturing, and harvesting. You can plant crops in the land, wait for the crops to grow, and finally harvest them. Therefore, once we see the earth in the 5 elements, we should think of the following keywords: everything to do with earth, contain, breed. It's like a mother conceives a child and then raises them. The characteristics of metal are reform, cleaning, killing, subsidence, and gathering. Metal is hard and many weapons are also made of metal. So these 3 words reform, cleaning, killing are easy to associate with metal. Why does metal have the characteristics of subsidence and gathering? Because most of metals are solid. Solid matter has a characteristic, that is, the movement of the particles that make up the matter is not very active, and they may even have some tendency to subside and gather. The characteristics of water are moisturizing, descending, cold, and hiding. We all know that all the known animals and plants need water to moisturize. All the water we see flows downwards. You may ask, the water in space is not affected by gravity, so it doesn't flow downwards. This done, we can think of it as the tendency of water to flow to the roots of everything. Water will not be transported to the whole body until it reaches the root, right? Also, the water is generally in a hidden place, because the water exposed to the sun will quickly evaporate. Well, these are the characteristics of the 5 elements. Finally, I must emphasize that the five elements should not be understood simply as the five substances, but as the five forces, the five trains of movement of particles in everything. Please don't worry that you cannot judge which of the five elements a certain thing belongs to. The ancient saints helped us classify them long ago. In the future videos, I will share with you one after another. You can get this knowledge for free just by subscribing to this channel. But you still have to have the ability to judge which five elements a thing belongs to. Let's try it. Which one of the five elements does the direction east belong to? I give you 5 seconds of thinking time. The answer is wood. Why? Remember what I said before? The characteristics of wood are growth and flexibility. The sun rises from the east, so the east has the meaning of growth. So the 5 elements in the east are wood. The temperature in the north is very low, while the south is very hot. I don't need to tell. You must already know what the 5 elements of the north and the south belong to. There are 2 relationships between the 5 elements: generation and restriction. Wood generates fire, fire generates earth, earth generates metal, metal generates water, water generates wood. Wood restricts earth, earth restricts water, water restricts fire, fire restricts metal, metal restricts wood. Generation is an element that transmits its energy to another element, and restriction is that an element consumes its energy to restrict another element. As I said earlier, the essence of the 5 elements is the 5 characteristics of the overall motion of the particles in the various substances. So the relationship between the 5 elements is actually the relationship between one type of force and another type of force. In other words, wood generates fire. You can understand that the burning of fire requires wood, so wood helps fire to burn. But the real reason why wood generates fire is because the force that represents wood helps the force that represents fire to grow. In the same way, the real reason why water restricts fire is because the force that represents water restricts the force that represents fire. Yin and yang have no distinction between good and bad. Similarly, generation and restriction have no distinction between good and bad. Because metal will not become steel if it's not restricted by fire. If wood is not cut by a chainsaw, it will not become furniture that we can use. But in most cases, we like generation and hate restriction, because we're human, not metal or wood, although people only grow after being hurt. Each element in the 5 elements has a different intensity in different seasons. There are 5 levels of intensity. The 5 levels of intensity from high to low are denoted by Chinese characters as Wang, Xiang, Xiu, Qiu, Si. Wang is the strongest, Si is the weakest. According to the Chinese meaning of these Chinese characters, I think the following English words can better reflect their true connotations in translation. Wang, vigorous. This is the highest of the 5 levels, which means the strongest. Xiang, powerful. This is the second highest of the 5 levels, which means the second strongest strength. Xiu, recumbent. This is the third of the 5 levels, the middle of the 5 strength levels, and is neither too strong nor too weak. 求 weak. This is the fourth of the 5 levels and is very weak. 死 dead. This is the fifth of 5 levels, which are so weak that they are almost negligible. Why is wood the most powerful of the 5 elements in spring? Because wood is a symbol of growth. Spring is when everything comes back to life. Summer is very hot, so the power of the element of fire is strongest in summer. Autumn is the harvest season, and we need metal machines to harvest, so the power of the element of metal is strongest in autumn. Winter is very cold, so the power of the element of water is strongest in winter. These statements are not precise, but at the early stages of learning this, you can understand it this way. See, this is in line with our common sense of life. You may be wondering now, why in the last month of each season, the power of earth among the 5 elements is the strongest. This is going to be relevant in the next video, and I will explain it in the next video. When we determine which 5 elements are the most powerful in a certain season, the ranking of the other 5 elements can also be determined. Try to think about the rule of the strength of the 5 elements in each season. Just to give you a hint, 2 keywords: generation and restriction. Subscribe, be your own prophet.